The topic of interspecies relationships is one which comes up several times within Star Wars lore, including appearances in TV shows, discussions in novels, references in sourcebooks, and so on. At the very least, some species are portrayed as being considered quite attractive almost universally within the galaxy, such as Twi'leks, particularly female Twi'leks, who were often sold into slavery as dancers, and which we see as early as the original trilogy of movies. While most of our videos have been focusing solely on Legends so far, today we'll be talking a bit about both Legends and canon since it's pretty comparable between both continuities, though I'll try to denote which timeline each example is from, and we'll be primarily focusing on Legends examples. In Legends, one of the earlier and more prominent discussions of relationships between different species is in the X-Wing series of books, where to some extent the relationships are used to help underscore the difference between the more open and accepting nature of the New Republic towards aliens, as opposed to the humanocentric views of the Empire, which, in the X-Wing series, is attempting to create and release a virus to infect Coruscant and kill as many non-humans as possible, hoping to cause a flare-up of interspecies tensions in the New Republic. In this series, we get introduced to one of the more prominent relationships between two members of different species in Star Wars, Gavin Darklighter, a human, and Asir Salar, a Bothan. When talking about the feasibility of such a relationship, Gavin seeks the advice of a fellow Rogue Squadron pilot and future Jedi Master, Corran Horn. Corran had similarly been in an explicitly sexual relationship before with a Salonian named Shirtle Rulawar, although Corran did note that he turned out to have an allergic reaction to her. There were other such interspecies relationships, or at least potential for them, in other parts of Legends. In the Clone Wars era, Quinlan Vos, a Kafar, and Kayleen Vance, a human, are together, and later in the Yuuzhan Vong War, the Twi'lek Rar at least had feelings for Anakin Solo, the youngest son of Han and Leia, though he didn't reciprocate. In Star Wars Rebels, in the new canon, one of the main romantic pairings in the show is between the human Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus and Twi'lek Rebel Commander Hera Syndulla. There are plenty of other examples, I just want to give a few to show how fairly wide the scope of possibilities were. The big question, though, is often whether such relationships could produce children, and the answer is, surprisingly, generally yes. This often depended on the genetic material of each species, so there had to be some similarities, which hints at leaked evolutionary paths or just Star Wars being Star Wars, but there are many instances of hybrid species individuals. Many Sith Lords like Marka Ragnos and Ludo Kresh were often hybrids thousands of years before the Battle of Endor, but whether they're the results of genetic experiments or interbreeding is often unclear. One of the more populous groups of hybrid species are the half-Bothans, a species who had been in multiple sources like Jedi vs. Sith and the Darth Bane books in the character of Jedi Master Valentine Farfalla before finally being confirmed as half-Bothan in the Essential Guide to Warfare. While the other half of this species' genetic materials come from at least a near-human species, it's never explicitly stated which. Humans and Kafar are another pairing which commonly could have children, though Kafar do appear to be much more closely related to humans than Bothans or other species. There are at least two examples of this, including the aforementioned Quinlan Vos and Kayleen Vance, who had a son, and Boba Fett, a human, and Sintez Vel, another Kafar, who also had a relationship and a child, Island Vel, who herself had a child named Murtagev. The last pairing we'll talk about in any real depth here is the human Twi'lek pairing, since it's also one of the most prominent and one of the ones where there's some discrepancy. Some early sources, like the X-Wing books, have the characters saying genetic material between humans and Twi'leks is too different to have kids, but there are a few examples in both Legends and canon where this is shown to be untrue. In the new canon, which wouldn't be related to X-Wing anyways, being a Legends book and a canon show, Kanan and Hera have a son named Jacen Syndulla, a reference to the Legends son of Han and Leia Solo, Jacen Solo. There's also an episode of the Clone Wars, though, where two young Twi'lek human hybrids, Jek and Shea, are shown with their parents, the Lacane family, who are also later mentioned in the supporting blogs for the Essential Guide to Warfare. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at interspecies relationships and how they're depicted in Star Wars. As always, please leave your thoughts in the comments and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. Next Thursday, we'll be doing an episode of Tapcaf Transmissions, my podcast rereading Star Wars books with Eckhart's Ladder, on Darth Plagueis, streamed live on this channel. So if you haven't listened before, this is a good standalone one to jump in on. If you have any other suggestions for videos, please leave them in the comments as well. Thanks for watching.